Hey, this is another TvZ in the Masters League between Nick and Bogie and the Bogie. So, one of the problems with Zerg as a Terran is that anytime he's not afraid for the next 2 or 3 minutes, he can make a bunch of drones all at once. And then by the time he has to be afraid again in 2 or 3 minutes, those drones have already paid for themselves. Whereas Terran has to constantly make army and workers. So when he gets into I only need to make army mode, he gets to spend, like, if say both of you have $1,000 a minute income, he can spend $1,000 every minute on his army, whereas you have to spend, about a half or a quarter at least of that money on workers and upgrades and supply depots and all this. You can't transition into only army mode because you build the infrastructure that you need to spend $500 a minute or $750 a minute, and you just, if you built the extra infrastructure, then most of the game, when you're still building workers, it would just be a big waste of money, and then your army would be even smaller, and it's just, it's ridiculous. So basically, the only way that you can prevent Zergs from taking advantage of that advantage is for them not to know when your next attack is coming, so that they have to constantly keep making stupid army. A little bit of army and a little bit of workers, and then they're on even footing with you because, they don't get to only drone and then only army. So that means having the ability to push at weird times, and having the Zerg know that you're going to push at weird times. And Zergs nowadays have seen so many of these Hellion openings and double racks openings that they kind of know what they need to defend against it and when it's going to come. Like, your first 2 Hellions won't get to the Zerg's base until 6 minutes, and your first 4 Hellions won't get there till 6:25. And so if he sees you take your gas, he's like, okay, well, I don't need to be worried about anything at all until 6 minutes. So he can just only drone until then. And Hellions you can defend with 1 spine and 2 queens easily, right? 3 queens, and then you can use that 3rd queen to get creep tumors and so on and so on. So, like, all of the openings, there's only like 2 reasonable openings that don't cripple your economy for the mid game, and both of them they're so common that every Zerg kind of like knows how to eat them. Really frustrating. You notice he has a Marauder in that. Nick has a Marauder in that bunker. That's because if you open Hellion and he goes Roach, then you just lose. So you're going to put a Marauder in a bunker so that you don't up and lose immediately to that. Getting this 3rd... Ooh. Oh, careful. Don't do it. Hey, nice. Ring around the rosy. Good job, Nicky. 3rd command center super early like this is a response to what he's seen at the Zerg's front. Creep spread, 3 queens, spine crawler, just a smattering of lings, that kind of stuff. This guy's not all-inning. You can usually tell if he's all-inning because he'll come out and instantly kill your Hellions, like with a billion speedlings. And when he's not, that means you can take your 3rd really super quick. And that'll give you an economic lead over someone who's worried about an all-in but doesn't know if it's coming and therefore can't take his 3rd. And Nick likes to do somewhat of a 9-minute push in most games. It looks like possibly, yeah, because he's starting these double engineering bays, I would say he's not doing it in this game. Because that's like $600 that he's spending on something that won't help for 3 minutes. So if he is doing this push, please don't do the push, because, yeah, okay. So this command center in these engineering bays basically means he can't push, because you need to spend a whole bunch of money to defend against mutas around the 10-minute mark. And so if you're going to push, you got to push before you waste that money so the army is nice and big. And then you can't like follow up the push or stay with the push, because then you got to go back to your base and waste a bunch of money on defending against mutas. And any static defense you build is something that's not going to really participate in the fight. And yeah, so stuff like that. So there's a nice timing window where you can push around 9 minutes, and then you got to go back home and spend money on upgrades and spend money on turrets and blah blah blah. And Nick skipped it this game because he wanted that quick 3rd command center. So now he's doing kind of the race to 72 scenario where you say, alright, I'm not going to push the Zerg. That means the Zerg is guaranteed to get a huge number of workers in the mid game. But that's okay because I'm going to get a huge number of workers too, and I'm going to secure my third and my fourth as quick as I possibly can. So this race scenario for Terran, I don't really love it, but it's certainly one of the valid ways to play. The problem with it is that if you just say, you know, you can get whatever income you want and I'm going to get whatever income I want, then he's going to end up with like 6 bases or 7 bases, and it's kind of ridiculous. Because he spends 300 minerals on a base over here and then just doesn't put any drones on it, and now he's got something for you to go hit that's out of the attack path, so he can just counter around where you were. Really annoying. Not all Zergs play like that, but the good ones do. Tons of mule energy. This is a Nick problem, where he says, okay, it's time to drop mules, and then he drops 3 mules, even if he has enough energy for 8 mules or whatever. And the way the AI works is it does closest command center first, so if you drop a bunch of mules here, it's going to use all the energy on this CC and none of the energy on this CC, and then that CC is going to max out on energy. He didn't actually do it this game, but he has many times in the past, and it always bugs me. If you're going to drop mules, drop 200 mules, because it takes only 1 extra second to click the button 200 times instead of 3. So Mr. Langman has spent 4,500 bucks on his army. Usually, right around whenever he either, basically once he spends his gas, that's when the Zerg is going to have this huge army. And usually they spend their gas on mutas, but in this case he's doing a late Baneling bust, and I doubt it's going to work because these siege tanks, and he went in with first with the Banelings. Really stupid, because siege tanks auto-target whoever's first. And so Nick might not even have been looking at that defense, and it still automatically did the right thing. You want to make it so that by default the wrong thing happens. Send in like 5 Lings to absorb siege tank damage, and then the Banelings come after and knock down the stuff, and then blah. Zergling upgrades piss me off. Zergs are constantly early and massively upgrading these days, and it's just terrible, man. It's terrible. Terrible. Siege tanks only one-shot Zerglings until they get 1 armor. So right now, Nick's siege tanks won't one-shot Zerglings anymore. But if you get +1 siege tank attack over here, then it adds 3 damage to the siege tank. So now he'll one-shot a Zergling even if it has +3 armor. So always get +1 attack if you're going to make siege tanks. You don't need +2 or +3. But if you don't get +1, siege tanks are horrible against Lings. But I don't know, siege tanks are kind of horrible against Lings anyway, because you have to kill 12 Lings to pay for a siege tank, maybe 11. And what are the odds you're actually going to kill 12 Lings with a siege tank? Not very good, buddy. I mean, defensively, like hiding behind this stuff, these siege tanks clearly are going to pay for themselves. They've already more than paid for themselves. But like an offensive siege tank, yeah, they don't usually get 12 kills before dying. Oh, did I pause it? I totally paused it. So the Zerg has 85 workers. This is the thing. When you race to 72, you got to win that race first off, and Nick didn't win this race. So the Zerg is way ahead on income. He's got 32, and Nick's got 20. So yeah, vastly ahead. And Zerg units cost so much more per unit space. Banelings are 150 bucks for 1 unit space. Crazy. Mutas are 100. So if he has more income than you, he's gonna have a stronger army than you. It's just like he can turn his money into army instantly and efficiently, whereas you can't. Oh. I'm just thinking in my head, I think siege tanks are about $75 per unit space or something. Nothing is 150. Banelings are freaking crazy that way. Hey, Nick's online. Alright, let's watch Nick die. Come on, die, Nick! Ooh. All the Banelings not being target fired by the siege tank. So, remember how I said he needs 12 kills? No way. Even though he's the last thing to die, he still only gets 9 kills. Ooh, 11 kills. That guy got 12 kills. But there were like 5 tanks, and 1 of them hit the quota. Frickin' siege tanks, man. Oh, unless they're defending a choke or bunkers or planetary or something, they're just never gonna pay for themselves. Pisses me off. But if you skimp on gas, then you're just going to have a smaller income than your opponent, than Zerg. Because Zerg have so many good gas units, and we have so many average to bad gas units, that you kind of have to build Siege Tanks or Thors or Medevacs or Banshees or something that uses a bunch of gas, or else you're just going to gimp yourself on income. So Nick is really aggressively expanding here. He's making another command center for a 4th. It's 18 minutes in. In TvZ, you really want to have taken a big aggressive stand by this point in the game, because if you don't, if you just do nothing, if you never push and are never scary, by about 18 minutes, oh, that was crap. His Marines were super well spread out, and then he just bunched them up. Oh, poor Marines. Anyway, if you don't do something aggressive by about 18 minutes, he's going to start spending his money on tier 3 things, and you're just going to be dead. So income-wise, the Zerg has still been ahead of Nick for so long now, with this 3,500 income against Nick's 22 income, that Nick's just kind of doomed. I mean, the Zerg spent a ton of money early on really inefficient, horrible Baneling wastes, and he's made a bunch of mutas, which are kind of crap against Marines, and he's done lots of stupid things with his money, but he's got so much more money to work with that even with stupid thing after stupid thing, he's kind of keeping up, and Nick can't get all the way across the field. I hate how long creep takes to recede, too. Nick killed these creep tumors like 6 months ago, and he's just never going to be off creep. This was obviously a big mistake. It's kind of throwing away units there. And now, you can't stay in the middle at this point. Maybe bunker up here or something, but then he can just go around it. The suicidal aggression thing counts on your income being equal or greater than his income, and Nick's income has just been way smaller for a really long time, ever since the Zerg took this gold. So suicidal aggression is just kind of suicidal at this point. You can see the composition Nick's going for with all these upgraded Marines and reasonable spreads against Banelings. He's coming out ahead on each of these battles, but it doesn't matter. The Zerg can throw away almost infinite cash and still be okay, because he's getting 40% more money per minute than Nick. So Nick is really aggressively taking expos. He's got 4 bases, he's got 74 workers, he's dropping mules all over the place. He's got all 6 geysers, which is crazy. I'm never able to spend that much gas. Actually, neither is he, but at least he's pulling it in. But it doesn't matter because he's doomed. Doomed, 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 doomed. Alright, Nick is now finally caught up on income for some reason. What happened? Why did the Zerg's income just drop by 800? Oh, he mined out his main! What's up now? He just lost about 600 mineral income and... No, he didn't. Yeah, he pulled guys off one gas geyser, so he lost another 100. Yeah, so he's just dropped 800 income, and now Nick actually has almost the same income as the Zerg, plus he's taken his 4th, and I bet he's going to knock down the gold rocks and take his 5th. So the problem is that when you go from about 13 minutes until now, Nick was way behind on income. So for about 7 minutes, he was way behind on income. So when you go from that to now, all of a sudden he's equal on income. He's still got a turtle for a while until that matters, right? Because Zergy Man still has 4,000 bucks in the bank that he can turn into army and so on and so forth. But if Nick can defend a reasonable position without losing too many workers or anything like that, he should be able to get back into the game. Big ol' Ling Baneling 2-2. Basically, just now going up to Lair. Kind of crazy. So this Zerg really wanted to end it on tier 2. Stop calling me, I don't answer phones. Oh, and that was kind of crap. Nick lost his whole infantry army in 2 Baneling splashes. I kind of like these trades in the middle, but I wish the spreading was a little bit better. And losing the medevacs over and over is really frustrating, because the whole idea of suicidal aggression with Marine medevac is that your medevac cloud keeps growing and growing, because every time you lose your Marines, you keep your medevacs alive. And Nick's medevac cloud is one almost dead medevac. He doesn't have a medevac cloud, so suicidal aggression doesn't really work without medevac cloud. It's just like a whole bunch of infantry kind of dying over and over at this point. So Zergy Man is not working on 3-3, which is surprising because he did such a good job of keeping up on 2-2. Man, this is... oh. So Nick was 4,000 bucks ahead on Army Lost a while ago, and he's just getting lower and lower the more he does this no gas suicidal aggression. But it is kind of preventing the Zerg from getting his income back up to the level it was before. He could easily take this, and Nick isn't even trying to deny them, but the Zerg is so busy constantly mopping up these attacks. Also, he didn't get adrenal glands. How stupid is that? And now the game kind of ends. The end. So yeah, I feel like with this many siege tanks and Thors and stuff, you're kind of not geared to do suicidal aggression. You need to get a couple bunkers or a planetary in the middle, and then some siege tanks behind it, and then do pushes from there and retreat back, and so that you have a place of strength where your siege tanks can live. Because when you make Thors and siege tanks, if they get surrounded by Lings, they do no damage. Like, with a group of Marines get surrounded by Lings, and sure, they die, but they do a bunch of damage on the way down. That's not really true for Thors and siege tanks. It's also not really true for Banshees